Okay, so I watched Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage the other night, and this was a movie I was pretty excited for. For one, I'm someone who really liked the first Venom that came out a few years ago. Like, it's not a great movie by any means, but it's an entertaining movie. There's certainly, some pacing problems, and there's certainly, a villain problem in that movie, but like I've seen it a few times since it originally came out, and upon each viewing, that movie is still really entertaining. It still gets quite a bit of laughter out of me, and I still enjoy that movie equally as much as when I saw it the first time. And now jumping to Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. I think the marketing and the trailers to this movie, I think it looked really good. And the idea of this film introducing Carnage in a live action form, and seeing that Venom slash Eddie Brock versus Carnage showdown that we've been dying to see for years now, on our big screens. We finally get to see that. I was a little hesitant with this movie at first because of the PG-13 rating, which, if you're going to introduce Carnage, I feel like PG-13 is not the best way to go, because I feel like it has to be R, because I mean it's in the name, Carnage. I mean you want to see Carnage, tearing through people. You want to see biting off heads. Like, that's, you can only show that with an R rating. And as I was watching this, I kept on seeing moments that had so much potential to be R. Like all of the fight scenes that you see in the trailer, like that prison outbreak sequence, for example. That's a scene that I thought it had some really awkward editing, actually, because I felt like it cut right at that moment as we were about to, see, Carnage, rip a guy open, or, bite off his head, like that stuff that we want to see, as fans of this character. I just felt like Carnage in this movie, from a villain perspective, I don't think he was the best developed, but I think from a CGI form, when you actually see him, when you actually see him in the symbiote, I think I think this is a really I think this is a really good looking Carnage. It's a really accurate representation of what Carnage looks like in the comics. So I really like that about Carnage. Like his look, I think has a terrifying presence to it. Um, but as far as a backstory and actual characterization given to the character of Carnage, I felt like that's where this movie was really lacking, as presenting a realistic villain with a motive that the audience can get on top of. And I just don't think Carnage really sold me on that. But putting that aside, how is the Venom vs Carnage fight sequences that we get in this movie? There's a really cool fight sequence that was briefly hinted at in the trailer. The what was it? The church bell sequence at the end of the film, which I thought that was incredibly entertaining. Carnage has all the best bits. Like Carnage is definitely the show stealer here. Um, he's the one that people are going to be paying full ticket price to go see this movie. We're there to see Carnage, and like those fight sequences I think are the best parts of the movie. They're definitely the parts I'm going to be thinking about after I watch this movie, and I can see myself like maybe like googling them one night and rewatching them. But as far as buying this movie on Blu-ray and DVD, I don't think this movie is a purchase worthy. I think it's a movie that I think like I honestly think you could rent for maybe like $10, and you can have a good time with it. But I just don't think this movie has a lot of rewatch value to it. But yeah, like all of the Venom and Carnage stuff, like that's really well done in the film. Um, there's parts in this movie that work that don't work as well that worked really well in the first film, and I'll give an example of that. The Venom and Eddie Brock duo, that relationship that worked so well in the first movie, doesn't work so much here. I won't get into specifics, but how would I put this? Something happens between Venom and Eddie, which there's a long, at least 20 to 30 minute portion where they don't really interact. And I just felt that's where a lot of the energy was really lacking in this movie, because that's something that works so well in the first film, and I didn't really feel that relationship, grow. Like there is, I guess, definitely there is like, I guess, a bromance, if you want to put it that way, by the end of this film. Um, but yeah, I just felt like that was one of the weaker portions of, of Let There Be Carnage, is that relationship. I just don't think was as good in this movie as it was in the first. That's my opinion. Um, and I think there's some pacing problems, especially the middle of this movie. Like, once they introduce, Carnage and all that, it does definitely, pick up. It does definitely become, a comic book film. It, like, with, with big special effects, big action. This film, while it does feel, bigger than the first film, it still feels, pretty low scale, for a comic book film. Um, I don't really feel like they do much with character growth in here, as far as, seeing these characters, develop. I don't feel like this film, I don't think, really does much of that. Another thing that I felt didn't work for me in this film was the humor. And this brings up another point for me. The trailers showed all the best bits of the movie. It showed a lot of action. It promised an action-heavy film, which this film, there is a decent amount of action. Is there a lot? No, no, not really. Um, but it also promised a lot of humor, which I hate this, but all of the best, like, humor, all of the best comedy moments are in those trailers. So when you're watching the movie, you're just kind of counting down when it's going to happen, like you're expecting it. But then outside of those funny moments that were in the trailer, there were maybe two small moments that I chuckled at. And so I think if this movie changed their trailers and it took out, like, a lot of those humorous moments, and if I saw it on the big screen for the first time, I felt like those jokes would have landed better. But since I saw them in the trailer, and I was kind of expecting them, and I was just waiting for that moment to happen, it didn't, it didn't have a huge impact on me. And in a way, like, it ruined, like, that viewing experience for me, because comedy was something that I think worked reasonably well in the first film, and I think Venom 2, I think really lacks in comedy. But yeah, I think Tom Hardy does a great job. I think all of the casting, from Tom Hardy, Woody Harrelson, I think they all do a great job in this movie. I think all of these special effects guys did a really good job at the design of Carnage. And yeah, it's like this. I'll put it this way: this film has a better villain than the first Venom. But as far as entertainment value, I think the first film still holds that for me. Like, don't get me wrong. I think all of those highlight moments that we want to see as fans, like, I think land really well. But from a film standpoint, from a story standpoint, from a comedy standpoint, I think the first film worked better. But Venom 2 definitely has a better and more memorable villain than the first film, because, I don't even remember the villain in the first film. So anyways, guys, yeah, that is my review of Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage. If you have seen Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage, let me know down in the comments, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you think it was meh? Or did you really not like it? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. So anyways, guys, hope you have a good rest of your day, evening or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.